Now, let's talk manufacturing and packaging. To acquaint themselves with the latest technology for organizations and over 5,000 factories, supply lines, 5 professionals are to gather in Lagos for the ProPack West African Conference. This is focusing on packaging, plastics, printing, processing industries. And the conference will feature over 250 global brands showcasing the latest technologies, equipment, and solutions for factory supply chains and manufacturing operations. The aim is to shape the future of packaging with focus on innovation, efficiency, and sustainability. My guest is George Person, is Regional Director, West Africa Montgomery Group. He is with me in the studio. We'll be speaking around connecting international and region businesses in West Africa and evolving manufacturing sector. Thank you so very much. It's good to have you live in the studio today to speak all around this manufacturing sector.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
I think a lot is happening in the manufacturing space, particularly with regards to packaging and all of that. But let's start with the fast-changing packaging segment of manufacturing. What's your assessment of how Nigeria and maybe other countries in Africa, how have they fared with packaging? That used to be an issue with our goods when, you know, they are not competitive because they are not well packaged.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've been running ProPack West Africa here now for 12 years. And, you know, if I look back over, you know, what I've seen, I think Africa, and particularly Nigeria, has made remarkable progress. I think particularly here in Nigeria, you're seeing the level of investment now that is going in, particularly to the larger scale manufacturers, the improvement in food safety, the improvement in the quality of packaging. I think, you know, it's a good point. You know, I think there's a lot of talk at the moment around how does the Made in Nigeria brand really excel itself on the global stage. You know, but one thing from my understanding is that, you know, Nigeria in particular has the manufacturing capacity here. You have the large scale infrastructure now in place. It's not without standing its challenges, but if you look at it in terms of perhaps a regional leader in West Africa, I would say that Nigeria now is really leading the way.
How would you now say Nigeria is, how are you helping in your own capacity to improve collaboration and partnerships across the manufacturing space?
Well, essentially, we run exhibitions. So effectively, they are a platform for showcasing technology to the manufacturing sector. And if I give you a breakdown, you know, this year, ProPack West Africa will have over 250 companies. That's 250 international and local brands that will be representing their technology, their services to the manufacturers. So, you know, we're expecting this year over 5,500 visitors coming to the show, primarily from Nigeria, but of course across West Africa as well. And it's the level of knowledge transfer, the technology. You know, a lot of these companies, perhaps the larger companies may, you know, travel out and have reps that they can go and source their machinery from. But if you take the next level down, you know, seeing is believing. And what we're able to do is bring that cutting edge technology, which is going to improve the quality, the efficiency of those production lines. We're bringing that equipment to Nigeria, to Lagos next week for 3 days, where any manufacturer, a trade visitor, is able to attend. It's free to attend for manufacturers. They can pre-register on our website or they can turn up for the event. So we're effectively bringing that technology to Nigeria next week.
I'm worried about, or I'm concerned about, technology transfer. Many times we have talk shops and many will say, how do you transfer that technology? That is something that is very key. What are the steps put in place so that this technology is really shared among other African countries, not just Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have sort of several levels. You know, there's the exhibition itself that we've just talked about, but, you know, the other parts of it are the conference. So we have a 3-day high-level conference that runs throughout the program. Day one, we've got a ProPack Summit on shaping the future of packaging. So this has a collection of prominent Nigerian speakers, prominent international speakers, experts in their field. You know, we've got representatives from Guinness.
Yeah, I see manufacturers is partnering with you on this.
Exactly. They're our main strategic partner there. And, you know, I have to say, you know, what they do to help advance the manufacturing and support the manufacturers in Nigeria is great work.
Tell us about this, your group, the Montgomery Group. Tell us more about it and what you're doing across Africa.
So Montgomery Group has actually been running for 130 years.
Wow,
it's one of the
that's
oldest,
a long time.
One of the oldest exhibition organisers globally. But we've had footprints, the group has had footprints in Africa now for over 60 years, started in South Africa. So for instance, this show, ProPack, actually started in Johannesburg, and has then since we've taken it from Joburg to Cape Town, to Nairobi, to Accra, to Lagos. So it now is the leading portfolio of manufacturing shows in Africa. But here in Nigeria, we've been operating exhibitions here for 12 years. So we really have whilst we're headquartered in London, for us it's so important that we have the footprint here, we have the team here who can really understand how to run an event, because running an event in London is very different to running an event in Lagos. It's very different to running an event in Accra. So and I think looking at those strategic partners that we've formed, such as MAN, it's really crucial that that they've been helping to lead the way for us.
And they've been so cooperative with you.
Absolutely.
You would tell us about how this event has grown to become one of the most important events across the manufacturing industry, because we're talking about the AFCFTA now, where Nigeria is trying to play big in the manufacturing space, and of course the African continent. That market is big, talking about the population, the GDP, the figures around that market. So do you think that events like this could also help to propel Nigeria to play big in that space?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what the latest stats out for Q1 of 2025, manufacturing now contributes almost, I think it's 9.6, almost 10% to GDP. This is huge. And I think what ProPack is able to do is put those manufacturers on a global stage. It's not just the technology providers coming to service them. It's the manufacturers being able to meet with buyers from across the region and across the world. So, if I take ProPack, when we first started here 12 years ago, it was a few stalls, a few hundred visitors. Now we're looking at 250 exhibitors, 5,000 or 6,000 visitors. But not only that, we've seen the exhibition evolve from just your standard exhibition booth. Someone comes with a few roll-up banners. We now have this year over 16 live running machines running at the event. These are huge, multi-million euro machines that the companies are shipping in. There will be live demonstrations on site, and I think that's kind of testament to how we've grown, but also how the Nigerian manufacturing sector has grown. Because these international companies, they wouldn't be investing this level of time and resource if they didn't see Nigeria as a major market now and also the potential for the future.
Nigerian market, everyone is always interested in Nigeria's market. I think the population is also something that makes everyone think Nigeria's manufacturing or Nigeria's market in its entirety is a place to be. What do you make of our market and how it's grown, being competitive across the African continent?
Well, there's a lot at the moment talking about the Africa free trade and, the export potential there. But, I think, you've said it there, the population just in Nigeria and where that's projected to go over the next 20 years. From a manufacturing standpoint, the domestic market is huge. It's bigger than probably most of the other countries put together in West Africa. And I think that's crucial that, the manufacturers here, they're looking to increase that capacity to serve the domestic market and the export market. I think one thing that I'm hearing a lot of is with the Forex volatility over the last couple of years. Yes, it's a little bit more stable now, but it's actually meant that manufacturers are turning to sourcing their raw products in country instead of having to import and rely on that. And of course, that then means that they can rely on the single currency here.
Indeed. Beyond Nigeria, tell us more about your portfolio across the African continent.
So, as I said, South Africa is where we started with ProPack. It's not just packaging shows that we run. We have heavy industry across mining, security, construction, food and drink. So we're into about 5 or 6 different verticals and around 24 events annually in Africa. Globally, we're the leading organizer for food and hospitality events in UK. We also have offices in Singapore and US as well. But we as a group are prioritising Africa. We see over the next 10 years, particularly in the 3 hubs that we've just mentioned, Nigeria, Kenya and South Africa, the huge rise and the importance of trade shows and conferences and how they can help lead and impact the drive in the economy.
That is really another good one. But how receptive would you say manufacturers here in Nigeria been since you've started this project? How receptive have they been? And can you highlight some positives?
Yeah, one standout for me is one of our first exhibitors that came with us 12 years ago. Again, small stand, just came along with some small information. They met, the owner of the company always tells me this. He met with one client. They brought one machine. It was an injection mold machine for plastic packaging. That one machine, this year now, they have over 160 of those machines running at their factories across Lagos. That's 30, 40 million euro investment plus. And that for me is always a good testament that, that one person came through the door, met with this client. Perhaps they would have met eventually, but I like to think of how Propak has sort of played its part in connecting. And one thing I say is that we turn conversations into contracts. People are coming in that they may not necessarily have met. They talk, they look at the machinery, they look at what their requirements are, and then they do a deal. And just last year we estimated that over $70 million worth of business was generated from Propak West Africa last year, and we expect to see a sharp increase for that this year as well.
Any projections for this year?
I would like to say 100 million. Let's see what the appetite is from the manufacturers themselves.
All right, then. I think that's a good way to live it. But are there challenges? You talked about it. As smooth as it looks, the manufacturing space, there's still one or two hitches somewhere. How are we also trying to address that?
I mean, from my standpoint, yes, of course, there are a lot of challenges. We see that in just the setup for our own exhibition. But, I think there seems to be a lot of improvements coming in. And I think, one thing I could say from my 12 years in Nigeria is the resilience of businesses. Somehow there's some way we find a way, and I have full confidence that, this will continue.
All the best. Mr. George Person is the Regional Director, West African Montgomery Group. They're speaking so well about connecting international, regional businesses, West African, and involving manufacturing sector and what's going to happen soon at Propak. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to have you in the studio live.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, then.